called to speak during the public comment section. Comments or testimony on agenda items listed under public hearing, public comment will be taken at that time. Roll call, please.
Don Williams.
Here.
Dick Anderson.
Here.
Chester Norikis is excused. Wes Ryan.
Here.
Susan Walke. Here. And Kip Ward.
Here.
Would you please all stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Out there.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. All right. Consent agenda. Minutes of meeting April 25th. 5 p.m. this Friday or Friday now? Or
Mayor Williams, the minutes were added for April 25th and for May 9th. The number 3, it should say May 23rd, not May 27th. That's a correction. The only minutes that are not here are June 20th and July 11th. So those will have to be removed,
5 and 7.
number 5 and number 7.
Okay. But you've made the changes for number 3, correct? To the 27th, from the 27th to the 23rd?
Yes.
Okay. Anyone else? No? Get a motion then?
Mr. Mayor, I'll make the motion to approve the consent agenda of 1, 2, 3, 4, and 6.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Okay. All right, so now we move on to the oath of office ceremony and seating of the new council members. What we've decided we're going to do, because I'll need everyone's permission to have a recess after we're done, is Mrs. Steer will give the oath of office. I think we're going to start with Judy. And then, Judy, you take your seat up here, get your pictures taken, and then come sit, okay? So if you're all here to take pictures, we're going to be there. You take them there, and then let her come sit. Kathy? And folks, public is welcome to come take pictures. You don't have to be timid about that.
Hello, can you hear me?
Nope.
Yes. First, I will do Judy Casper. If you'll step forward, please. First of all, I would like to say that so when we get to this part, you just put your name in there, okay?
I, Judy Casper,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States of America
that I will support the Constitution of the United States of America
and the Constitution of the State of Oregon
and the Constitution of the State of Oregon
and the laws thereof,
and the laws thereof,
and will faithfully and honorably demean myself
and will faithfully and honorably demean myself
in the office of council member for the city of Lincoln City,
in the office of council member for the city of Lincoln City,
to which I have been elected
to which I have been elected
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
Congratulations. Thank you. Next, we'll have Deanna Hinton.
Sure. I, Deanna Hinton,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States of America
that I will support the Constitution of the United States of America
and the Constitution of the State of Oregon,
and the Constitution of the State of Oregon and the laws thereof,
and will faithfully and honorably demean myself
and will faithfully and honorably demean myself
in the office of council member for the city of Lincoln City,
in the office of council member of the city of Lincoln City,
to which I have been elected
to which I have been elected
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
Congratulations.
Judy and Deanna, if you guys want to come on up and take your seats.
Riley? Yes,
I'm gonna need
Judy.
your- I'm going to need your vote.
Judy, I have you for Wes. You'll have to switch places with Wes.
Well, no, but good luck anyway.
Just a little blank, you put your name in there.
You got it. I, Riley Hoagland,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States of America
that I will support the Constitution of the United States of America
and the Constitution of the State of Oregon
and the Constitution of Oregon
and the laws thereof,
and the laws thereof,
and will faithfully and honorably demean myself
and will faithfully and honorably demean myself
in the office of council member for the city of Lincoln City,
in the office of council member for the city of Lincoln City,
to which I have been elected
to which I have been elected
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
So congratulations all, welcome aboard, and your first act is going to,
You want to bring your name forward?
I think she is, yeah, she is, she's
Oh, it
good.
is forward? Okay, good.
I'm going to ask for unanimous consent to take a short recess so we can enjoy some refreshments and a short reception. All in favor, say aye.
I,
Therefore, opposed? All right, we're in recess.
what's your old one? Is that one not? No?
Well, they're different.
They are? Let me see.
planning commission, you need a Riley. My budget Riley.
Mine's not. Why?
Wes always used it, but
Your planning commission.
Feel free to negotiate your seat. Congratulations, thank you very much. I did. He gave us.
All right. So earlier today, I couldn't find my older sent mail, and I called Tony on the phone, and he took control of my computer and said, "Oh, good for you."
Thank you.
Fine, there they were, and on the net mail.
Yeah, absolutely.
I tried to do that later, but can't find it. Someone needs to come down and smack me upside the head, maybe give me a. Read that and stuff like that. Okay.
Okay.
I make fun of the Italian guy. I totally.
You want to see my certificate?
What I don't get is I can't find the older mail.
States of America?
And I can go back and I can see it, if I put it in order, but it won't search it that way. It only searches like the first 20 documents. I don't understand. I'm sure it's just a stupid mistake on my part. I'm missing this. Yeah, I'll be here all day tomorrow.
I'm going to welcome the new city councilors, and I'd like to give each of you a few moments just to say something if you'd like. So, Councilor Casper, anything you'd like to say today?
I'm just very grateful and excited to be here, and I hope there will be many good things we can do as a team for our city and our residents.
Thank you. Councilor Hinton?
I'm hiding over here. I just want to say to Ward 1 folks, thank you very much for this wonderful opportunity. I look forward to doing a lot of work this year. Hopefully we can get going on all the issues that I heard about when I was talking to all of you. And just thank you. Let's go.
All right. Councilor Hoagland?
I also would like to thank everyone in Ward 2 and all my supporters and everyone who believed in me. I really appreciate that and proof that we can do it. And now the work begins. So thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you. We'd like to take a moment to thank former councilors Wes Ryan and Chester Narikis for their service, and announce that we have a public reception in their honor to be held on January 23rd. I don't have a time.
We're still trying to schedule that. It will likely be before the city council meeting.
Okay. So we got that going for us. Okay, we need to move into an election of council president. City charter states at its first meeting of each odd-numbered year, the city council shall elect a president from its membership. In the mayor's absence from a city council meeting, the president shall preside over it. Whenever the mayor is unable to perform the functions of his office, the president shall act as mayor. The election of council president is done by nomination, motion, second, and vote. The attached election of council president is provided for your assistance. Sorry? Oh, did I jump ahead on our, did I?
Mayor? Yes.
Oh,
ma'am.
I just had this nice list in front of me. I was just reading away. All right, well, then we're going to skip that. Comments from citizen present on agenda and non-agenda items. This is an opportunity for members of the audience to bring to the council's attention any item not listed on the agenda for public hearing or public comment. Comments are limited to 5 minutes per person, and the city recorder will use the light system. Speakers may not yield their times to others, and as a general rule, this is not a time for exchange of questions. At the conclusion of this agenda item, a councilor may discuss or raise questions regarding an item presented. And I see Joe Hinton. Oh, the parks. Got it. And Rodney Ruiz. Well, you got to come on forward. Can't hear you from all the way. We got have a. You're great, buddy. Just come have a seat. We can't hear a word you're saying to you. Sit down and talk into the microphone. Give us your name into the microphone and have your say.
I'm Rodney Andrew Reese, and I'm just here because basically I come here from California to rehabilitate. When I was 21 years old, I flew without a cape. Basically, I was in a car accident, landed on my head, rolled over and over and over like that. I was in a coma for a while. I was at the best hospitals there could be, for like in dental in San Diego for head injuries and stuff. But I'm not to walk, talk. I'm doing quite well. I'm Rodney Andrew Reese, hello, Ron. And, I can walk, I can talk. I still can't smell and stuff. And I'm like rehabilitating myself. I put to volunteer at the library. I'm denied that because I have a criminal record. Because, like, my criminal record's basically a bunch of garbage. It's like, they always would say, like, you know, I'm under the influence of drugs or something, because, like, this side of me's paralyzed halfway, you know, I can't smell and stuff. And so it's like, it wasn't like, in this state, not until my parents, like, you know, supported big dollars for Lovejoy to represent me, then everything's done. But I'm trying to do stuff myself, and it don't work when it's like, okay, can I volunteer this? Nope, I got a record. What should I do? You got any ideas?
Well, I can't answer that tonight because I'm not familiar with that at all. But what I can say is I'll talk to Mr. Chandler about it after we're done, and maybe if you can leave somewhere where we can get a hold of you. Is that possible? Do you have an address? Or
Usually, no, I don't. Now I don't.
how would we get a
Mr.
hold
Mayor,
of
I do believe I have that information
you?
already.
Go right ahead. Hang on a second.
I will be back in touch with you sometime in the next couple of days.
Okay,
I'll get
great,
word.
great.
I'll get word to you.
All right, I'll be up there, yeah. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Uh-huh. Anyone who did not sign up would like to speak? Seeing no one. All right, we're moving into public hearings, public comment. And to hear public comment on proposed adoption of the 2016 Parks and Rec system. It is now, or system plan, it is now 6:24 PM. The hearing is now open to accept public comment on the draft Lincoln City Parks and Recreation System Plan. Councilors, are there any abstentions or disqualifications based on conflict of interest or personal bias? Hearing none. Does any member of the audience wish to challenge the qualifications of a counselor to participate in this matter? Okay. After the staff presentation, any person may speak for up to 3 minutes. If we have questions, your time responding will not be counted in your time limit. If you wish to speak, please write your name and mailing address clearly on the sign-up sheet. Too late, already got it, but you can always speak afterwards. If you also have the written testimony to submit in the record, please provide a copy to the recorder. Will the staff please present its report?
Deborah? Got it.
Hello, my name is Deborah Nicholson. I am the senior planner and I staff the park board. And so I have been the project manager for this plan to update our 2001 Parks Master Plan. We now have prepared a draft for the 2016 Parks and Recreation System Plan. I know that some of you at least have seen part of this and a very similar presentation at a workshop that was held at the end of November, a joint workshop with the Parks Board. And so I have just revised this to reflect some of the changes since then. So I am just basically going to talk about the plan and the priorities listed in the plan. And what I am asking of you today is to consider my presentation and also the testimony that you receive. If you want to proceed with adoption of the plan, I will prepare an ordinance for adoption. In 2001, we actually adopted it by resolution. But our city attorney has suggested that we actually amend our comprehensive plan to include this information and goals instead of what's in there, so that everything is consistent. Excuse me. So I do want to particularly emphasize that we had many, many people involved in the preparation of this plan. We had, the former city council is listed. The Parks Board served on the Project Advisory Committee along with an equal number of people who were representing local organizations. And we had a project management team, staff team, including Ed Drystad from the VCB, Lila Bradley from Public Works, Richard Townsend, Planning Director, and I from the Planning Department, and Gail Kimberling from the Recreation Center. So we had a good team. We also were supported, of course, by many of our other staff. And we were able to hire consultants with use of a grant from the Oregon Parks and Rec Department. And so we hired Greenworks. Greenworks, in turn, then had some subcontractors, including Matt Hastings with Angelo Planning Group. Excuse me, I have a cold, and I've been getting over it for 2 weeks, so please bear with me. I wasn't going to mention it, but I kind of feel like I have to. In addition to all those people, we started out the process at the end of March with stakeholder meetings. We had 8 stakeholder groups and I think a total of 23 people who came in to talk to the consultants about various topics. Some of them were parents of small children. Some of them were concerned about services for the low income in town. Some of them were active adults and, included surfers and runners and bicyclists. So we did as much, and we had a Hispanic woman who came in and spent an hour with us. So we tried to reach as many different groups as we could initially. We also had, on our project advisory committee, we had 4 meetings throughout the process. And it was about a 9-month process, so it went fairly quickly, which I liked. I think it kept everybody focused. We also had 3 open house opportunities, and now we had a council and park board work session, and now we are at adoption. Okay, the vision. The vision was created out of words that were generated by the Project Advisory Committee. And the consultants put together the vision statement using all those words that they contributed. So, oh, by the way, I should mention that this and all the images in the slide presentation are in the draft plan, and the plan is available on the city's website on the main page under current news. And I believe you got it all several weeks ago, so I'm hoping you've had a chance to look it over. At any rate, the emphasis here, the bold words are the consultants, but we're talking about a well-connected, accessible system of parks and recreation, geographically dispersed, easily navigable system of trails, pathways, and other opportunities, and opportunities for all people that celebrates and preserves and enhances the ecological integrity, continues to provide access to our expansive beaches and waterways, a diverse range of indoor and outdoor activities, and responds to future and current needs and includes existing, new, and enhanced facilities, operated sustainably, adequate parking, and other amenities. And what sets probably this plan apart from those for communities that don't have a tourist-based economy, one of the goals of the plan is to support our economic base of tourism. We do have to recognize that we are in the recreation business, and that's why people come to Lincoln City. We want a plan that's ambitious but also realistic and can be implemented. So this is a 20-year plan, so it is long range. But we are hoping that we'll actually be able to get something done, not once we adopt it, and move on into implementation. I should recognize anybody else who is here who participated in the plan. If you participated in the plan, would you stand up, please? Okay, that's great. We have some stakeholders who interviewed with us the first day. We have members of the Project Advisory Committee. We have park board members.
We thank you for your service.
And general public. Yes. and I'm sure they'll correct me if I get anything wrong. So I do want to mention, too, that the Park Board, I think maybe I've already said this, that they did consider the plan at their December meeting, and they did unanimously recommend it. There are imperfections, and maybe you've noticed them, typos and maybe wrong names in some cases. But one of the park members commented that he feels that the plan has really captured the voice of the community as far as recreation and parks, and also that the plan gets the priorities right. And the Park Board and other members of the advisory committee have been very persistent in making sure that those priorities reflect what they have found that the community needs and wants. Their first priorities, the plan's priorities, are core facilities. And core facilities are those that serve the community. Later on, we talk about destination recreation type of facilities. But primarily, the first priority is that we want to provide services to everyone in the community and to those people who are coming to visit. These are the facilities, and I'll talk a little bit more about these as we go along, but the old school site, which is the old Taft Elementary School site, has got the highest rating in terms of priority. And I can show you why that is as we move into the maps. Side Creek, which is the neighborhood south of the lake, the consultants dubbed this the Side Creek neighborhood, is second priority. Facilities in conjunction with the school district near Spyglass open space has a high priority. And then we also have prioritized the villages, a community park up at the north end of the community, and also neighborhood parks as that neighborhood develops. And as I said, it's a 20-year plan, so we may not need those today, but at some point in the future. Rhodes End State Park is a beach access right now, but it doesn't have any facilities, and Rhodes End does not have a playground, and so they saw this as an opportunity. And also a neighborhood park in the Agnes Creek area. But the advisory committee did point out that if some of these are not available, such as the old school site, if we're unable to acquire that and develop it as a park, then some of these other areas, neighborhood parks, would become a higher priority. So we considered what we already have. The consultants spent a lot of time with an inventory of existing services. Also, talking to a lot of people and getting a lot of input about what's necessary, what's needed here in town. But also, we did look at standards, and standards aren't the end-all, but they do describe for us how we compare to other communities and what we're providing. So in this chart, we are looking at acres of parkland per 1,000. And it does show us that we have actually quite a bit more than would be typically found or required for open space. And that's because we had the bond issue in the 90s, and we spent $3 million plus to acquire open spaces, both for environmental reasons and also for recreation reasons. But it does show that we're short of parks by comparison. Mini parks, neighborhood parks, community parks, regional parks, we fall way short of what standards would indicate, both for, and we did this both for our future population, and that's this column, but, excuse me, and that's this column, the deficit for the future population. But also we asked them to add a column at the end that would represent 30,000 residents and visitors, which is not unusual for our summer and holiday weekends. So there you can see then, if we're talking about serving that many people, then we're falling way short. But even for our future population, which we calculated at 10,763 compared to our current population of 8,400. And then we also looked at facilities per thousand. Again, we found that we're short on ball fields, soccer fields, and we have more beach accesses, obviously, than a lot of places would. But we're really short on just picnic tables, which is a fairly simple thing. I think that maybe the most useful and telling for Lincoln City is this diagram that shows, compares our parks that we have now with the service radiuses that are recommended for a mini park, a quarter of a mile, which is about a 5-minute walk, for a neighborhood park, a half a mile, which is a 10-minute walk, and then for community parks that should be within a short drive, 3-mile drive. So they represented each of our existing parks with a circle indicating what level of service. So we do have Kurtz's Park in the community center, and they show this as a community resource. But you'll notice at the north end of town, we don't have any parks yet. And at the south end of town, and this was also highlighted as a priority in the 2001 plan, we are quite short of parks. We have lots of the city that is not within a recommended service radius of any park. So again, now we've moved on to what the recommendations are, and the recommendations are that, again, the first priority is to try to get the park at the old school site, and so that would be a community type park, and so it gets a big circle, and then these other smaller circles indicate a park in conjunction maybe with the school district. Near the schools, and in the Agnes Creek area, and in the neighborhood just south of the lake. And again, it mentions that maybe these would become even higher priority if we are unable to acquire the school site. In the north, we propose, and this is all representing the Dee River improvements, making that, right now it's a very popular wayside, but it doesn't provide picnic area, it doesn't provide anything but basically parking and beach access that is not ADA. So some improvements there, and we'll get to that later as a destination improvement. And then we've got the Rhodes End Park at the wayside there, and 1 or 2 parks in the villages for neighborhood, but also we're showing a large community type park up in the north end of town. Details on the old school site. Now, you've seen similar conceptual drawings, and this one represents some parking area where the buses are now, picnic and lawn area, soccer field, which already exists, multi-use court, basketball, tennis, and pickleball. This might represent the covered facility. We received a bequest of about $500,000 to have some kind of covered tennis courts, and we're talking about maybe using that money for tennis courts that also can be used for other activities. Playground and nature play in a dog park, and that's pretty ambitious, but it really fills up the old school site. Later on, we can talk about this improvement, which is a larger improvement for destination recreation. I'm kind of buzzing through this, but if you have any questions, just, let me know. The Road's End concept provided in the plan, and not everyone agreed with everything in this. The idea is, though, that we would try to take the land around the restroom building, provide some playground, picnic, maybe have some picnic. They're showing tables, facilities over here. They're showing a covered shelter here. Not everybody was really enamored with that idea. We did not want anything that would block views. And the other concern here was because so much traffic is generated by the existing facilities that the advisory committee was suggesting that we really don't want anything that's going to draw people outside a walkable area. We don't need any more traffic congestion. The other thing, we have this interesting feature over here, wetlands, and this is Salasee. And they're showing a boardwalk through the wetlands. The committee said, really just on the street around the wetlands would be a fine place to walk and to enjoy the wetlands. So, the concept is improvement. It's the details will be determined later when projects actually materialize. Another thing that was mentioned in regard to the Road's End and also D River is that we want cooperation from the state. It's their facility, and so we'd like their participation. And in both D River and Road's End, trying to establish ADA accessible beach access, because especially this one is pretty difficult right now to get from the parking to the beach. So we did include some costs, and there was some discussion about whether we wanted to do that because the numbers are really big, and we didn't want to scare anybody. And also, we realized that this is a 20-year plan, and whenever these are actually built, the actual costs at that time may be considerably different from these costs. But just for comparison purposes, we did have them put in costs. The land needed column is whether or not we actually need to acquire land for this facility. But the costs do not reflect land cost, and they are intentionally a high estimate. The consultant said they'd rather estimate high than have the community be surprised, the other way. So, anyway, that's just some numbers for comparison. Also, to provide for our citizens, our residents, as well as our visitors, we need to make sure we maintain and our existing facilities, and consultants have identified various ways that we could make improvements that would increase the recreational value, maybe decrease maintenance cost, just make it more attractive or accessible. And so for instance, the column with the most dots in it is wayfinding. And we do not have a system, and some of our recreational resources are not well advertised. So that would be a goal. And again, something that's not terribly expensive and would be maybe one of our first things to accomplish. Excuse me. Okay. We did have a section on safety, connectivity, and livability. And this, of course, includes our Head to Bay Trail, which has been a priority since the 2001 plan, maybe before that. We have built several miles of the trail, but much of the trail in the south part of the city especially does not have a defined alignment yet and would require some acquisition. Some of it would be developed as other development occurs. And so that's something that we're looking forward to. Most local connections are already called out in the walking and biking plan and our transportation system plan, so they didn't get into a lot of detail on those. But, part of our difficulty in serving our 7 miles of population is just getting people to the facilities that we have and then, to any new facilities we build. And so this would all help with that. One of the big ideas in the plan was to have a loop that goes around the Devil's Lake, and our members thought that that would be a great amenity for both our residents and our visitors, and also, does provide some transportation function, but, the idea is to make it recreational amenity. Local connection to Road's End should be a high priority. There is no sidewalk along Logan Road, and you see a lot of people walking that strip, and it's curvy and it's hilly, and so it is a high priority both in our transportation plans and in our recreation plan. So we get into the bigger things, and this one, this is a big idea, but it is also a priority as far as serving our resident population, particularly the Project Advisory Committee and the Park Board are concerned about having something for teens, and this has been something talked about for years. I think it definitely goes back to the 2001 plan and probably before that. But the consultants were really excited about our skate park, and they were aware of conflicts between skaters and bicyclists who, right now we don't allow bicyclists to use the skate park. The Dreamland Skate Park is the company that actually did most of the construction of and design of our skate park. And they feel very strongly that, and know from experience, that bicycles and other kinds of vehicles do serious damage to the smooth curves in the skate park. And so we have had a policy of not including them. The consultants then show on city land a pump track, BMX pump track, and also a kids' skills course on city land right adjacent to the skate park. And also show a walking trail that goes all along and through these facilities that provides both recreation for walking, dog walking, but also it kind of opens this up to observation. It's kind of hidden and tucked down there, and it's not always very visible, so this would kind of open it up as people walk past it, making sure that people are doing what they're supposed to be doing and not doing other things. So the consultants also show here on the same site as our community center a teen center expansion, a senior center area, and also expanding the pool instead of a wave facility. They saw all these things as priorities, and they'd really like to see these happen. So that was one big idea, but it's also core facilities. So another of the big ideas and is to really make Dee River an attractive feature in the middle of town, as well as a way to get to the beach. And they started out with two concepts. One was a high impact and one was a low impact. They came up with this sort of hybrid. A lot of people emphasize the desire to maintain some parking in this area because a lot of people just like to sit in their cars and look at the ocean, especially on a bad day. So that was something that was important. Fixing up the bathroom and greening that up a little, doing some landscape, maybe having a feature. They've talked about a wind water plaza here. Also, improvements include, pedestrian bridge connection across the Dee River, because the sidewalk across on the highway bridge is so narrow and not very pleasant or safe. Also, a walk along the shoreline of the Dee River to increase enjoyment of the river, and connection then of new parking areas on the east side through an improved intersection to the west side, wayside. So, let's see, I think I've hit everything. In the high-impact one, they talked about redevelopment of this whole area that would include public-private participation and partnership. The idea would be eventually to have on one side of the river or the other a discovery or exploration, water exploration center, and make that a real part of our offerings for visitors as well as our residents. So we already talked about the old school site, but in addition to that, a bigger idea is to have a landscape and activities and pathway connecting the east side along Schooner Creek and the new park with a kayak and paddling center, and then under the bridge along the boardwalk to the dock and our facility at the end of 51st Street. So this not only, is good for recreation, it is also a very attractive entrance from the south end of town. Of course, the downside, and one of the reasons this did not rate so highly, is because there is right now affordable housing in this area. It is in the tsunami area and the flood zone, so it's not a great place for housing. But we do have a manufactured home park here and trailers that do provide affordable housing. So again, it's a public-private thing, and it's not uncomplicated, but it would be a fabulous entrance to the south part of the city and make the most out of our connection to Schooner Creek and Siletz Bay. Here are the costs for some of these things, and we obviously were talking millions. And I think the idea here is not that we're entertaining ourselves, but that we're thinking about investments for ways to ensure that we are attractive and show people a really good time, make them want to come back when they come to visit us. The rating for what is a priority, one being the highest for these bigger destination facilities as opposed to our core projects, which we were looking at before, really rate all of them fairly highly except for the Schooner Creek Waterfront Park, and I think that's due to some of the complications of needing to move residents and partnerships and costs. So we talked about a lot of other ideas that we can use perhaps on other city property, maybe some of them in our open space if they're not deemed to be too active, because our open spaces are for passive recreation and for protecting sensitive environments. But some things that people would love to see here and that are very popular tourist attractions are mountain biking, zip line adventure challenge courses, ropes courses, canopy walks, and that is like having a suspended bridge. Or I think Mayor Williams, you sent me some pictures a number of years ago from when you were in Washington or Vancouver. And Ed Drystad in the Visitor and Convention Bureau said he has actually been involved in developing some of these in other places where he's worked, and they're extremely popular. Paddling Exploration Center, both at Dee River and Schooner Creek, outdoor-indoor water park, we kind of ruled out a wave park that people were really excited about that, and we realized how, and we're talking about like big wave park that would simulate surf and be for surfing. And it takes a huge amount of area, huge amount of water, takes a big flat space. We don't have that. So we kind of ruled that one out. But these other things are possibly ways that we could partner with private operators to do these things. And so we need to consider whether that seems appropriate for our city property or whether there are other places in town where this might work. So the first thing under implementation that the Park Board and the members of the Project Advisory Committee stressed is that if we're going to be increasing our offerings in Parks and Recreation, we also need to make sure that we have sufficient staffing. I know that the Parks and Maintenance crew has been keeping very busy, and we do have added a number of new properties over the years. And they take care of not just recreational facilities, but also parking lots and various other, the restrooms that serve our visitors. So that's important. Also, the groups both talked about the need to have a director of Parks and Recreation. And as you know, Ron Ploger, maybe you know, maybe you don't, he was our last director. He retired in 2010. And since then, we have been sharing his responsibilities between Lila Bradley, who does parks maintenance and budgeting, and Gail Kimberling at the Rec Center, and I have been staffing the Park Board and doing parks planning. Ian Keene has been added to our staff to organize volunteers to improve our open spaces. So we have a many-faceted approach. And the thinking of the committee and the board was that having one person who would oversee all of this would be more effective in terms of moving implementation of the plan forward. So we have a number of funding opportunities for paying for new facilities and improvements. And one of the first things is system development charges. This is the amount that we charge for every new dwelling unit and every new hotel room, and to contribute to anticipating that there are going to be people in those spaces that want to use our parks and recreation facilities, and this is their contribution to what previous homeowners and residents have already paid. So one of the first things we'll do after adoption of a new plan is figure out a capital improvements plan and base new system development charges on that plan. So the general fund does provide some for operations and maintenance. We also have a transient room tax funding, part of which goes for parks maintenance. Bond referendum is the way a lot of communities will fund projects up front and then end up paying for it through tax dollars over the years, as we did with our open space acquisition, our $3 million bond issue in the 90s. Ticket sales, admissions passes, volunteers are very important. We do often get people who call us and would like to donate a bench or a plaque or something else in memory of a loved one who has enjoyed Lincoln City or in honor of somebody or something. And we really need a program, so we're ready with responses as to what they might be able to give us that we can put to use. So that's another thing we'd like to do soon. Grants, we do apply for grants. Grants are competitive, and so we are competing with other communities. We have, when we thought we were pretty definitely going to get the old school site. I attempted to get $750,000 from Oregon Parks and Rec, and that year they tended to give small grants, unfortunately. So ours didn't go anywhere, but we can go back, and we can go back for other places, other parks, and we certainly will. We have received money in the past. It's funded part of the Head to Bay Trail. I'm trying to think what else. There was something I just noticed today, but anyway, we have received grants in the past, and I think maybe we're about due to get another one. Transient room tax, I already mentioned, promoting tourism and including destination facilities. So if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them, and otherwise we'll turn it over. Questions?
Thank you. First of all, I'd like to say that I know this represents a lot of hours and a lot of people's work and attention, and that's really appreciated. This is fabulous. I have a couple of questions. One is on that last slide, or the one before, the funding, oh, right there. And the first word on the left column is Friends. Do we currently have a Friends organization that can generate funding, fundraising events and that type of thing?
Well, I know in the past we have. I don't know that we have any currently. Friends of the Wildwood, I've heard about. They were instrumental in getting that open space established, and I think maybe doing some of the initial work on it. We do have Ian Keene, as I mentioned, organizing volunteers to do work in the open spaces. And we've had groups such as the Ford Leadership Group, who just installed benches in Agnes Creek and a kiosk. And so, we have people who are out there interested in doing these things. And thankfully, Ian has been out a bit because of a car injury resulting from a car accident. But he has been very good about involving the kids from the school on the 4th floor and the charter school, and also other people in the community, youth as well as adults. And so I think that is a really useful tool for us. Now, another thing that people may have forgotten about is the playground in Regatta was started by and built by volunteers, and they worked with a company called the Leathers Playground Company. This was maybe 28 years ago, and the whole thing was constructed by volunteers. And the company helped them with the design, went to the school kids, went to the neighbors, and then they provide the, it's like a kit type of thing, I think. But all the labor was local people who were volunteering, so that was a pretty neat deal. And I'm sure over the years there have been many other things that I'm not aware of.
Yeah, I was specifically thinking about funding opportunities, through friends groups I could collect through a nonprofit, that type of thing. And I have, when I was going through the plan, I made a lot of notes. Does anyone want those?
Are they like corrections and typos and that kind of thing?
Yeah.
Yes, Susan also has a list, and we have a list from some of our citizens. So, yeah, let me know, and we'll try to get as many of them changed. The consultants have basically run out of money, and so, I'm going to have to, do something extraordinary, I guess, to get everything fixed to be perfect. But we definitely will want to hear from you and about those.
And just to highlight one of them, the wayfinding signs that are listed throughout the plan, I would really like to see that we could include the earthquake and tsunami education at the appropriate parks and with an evacuation route, just to, bring that awareness to a larger group of people.
Good idea. Mm-hmm.
And I have a few other ideas, but I can send them to you or to Ron, and he can get them to you.
Okay.
Please do. We'll make sure they get there.
Anyone else? Councilor Anderson?
Yeah. Deborah, could you help me, and I'm sure us, we've gone through a lot of master plans lately, transportation and now parks, and there's other ones going. The role of the master plan, because it's nice to see it, great visioning, and it's very helpful. I noticed that we didn't do, if you mentioned that the last one done on parks was 2001.
Yes.
So here it is, 2017. Is there any report, because I didn't see it in this plan, of how we did on the last master plan?
We did talk about that, and I guess we didn't actually report on it, except, you may notice in the inventory, but nobody's going to go back and make that comparison. But we did do, as I mentioned, several miles of the Head to Bay Trail from the last plan. We had some major improvements to the community center from the last plan. We did have, there was an effort in 2008 to establish a capital improvements plan and use it as a basis for system development charges, but it was not a widespread citizen input type of effort that 2001 and this one have been. And so, but I think the one thing that the Parks Board particularly, and I think the Advisory Committee as well, recognized that we had not done a good job of adding new parks in the south part of town, and that was identified as really something lacking in the 2001 plan, and they were kind of dismayed to see how that nothing really has happened since then to correct that.
Well, what I was getting at, and I think, is that this plan designed to help us all envision what it could be, or is it really meant to be a working plan? Now, we're getting all the elements, because we talked briefly about financing and funding.
Yes.
And I guess the reason I'm going with that is how finite do we want to get on corrections and that kind of stuff, and then finally it might be more realistic to phase this thing. 20 years comes and goes very quickly, especially at my age. So, I can't imagine all this stuff being doable in a 20-year plan. So who is it that sits down and, gets realistic with priorities and timeframes
Well,
as we get
Mr. Mayor?
close?
Mr. Mayor, may I jump in and answer that question?
Please.
There's a relationship that, of what the next steps are that happen with this. You mentioned this is both visionary and also has plans that can be implemented. The next step is to begin to create a capital improvement plan associated with this, to identify the projects, to identify what will be phased in, when they will be built, the funding sources, similar to what we have with our transportation plan and so forth. And so while this represents an awful lot of hard work, it represents the first phase of the hard work. The second phase now becomes establishing the priorities on how you want to build this and add these, and how they will be funded to add them. And then the question that I have is, Mrs. Nicholson did not, answered a little bit of what we have done from the previous report. Would you like a synopsis of the things that were to be done and what we have been able to accomplish over the last 16 years?
No.
Okay.
So no sense going that way, because I am assuming this plan would have incorporated those things that were still a good idea and brought forward. The only reason I brought that up is I'm fearful of master plans sitting on the shelf. And what I'm trying to get is a doable plan that's realistic. But at the same time, I love the visioning. It's nice to see what could be, or, what somebody's thinking. So I don't want to not have that available. But if we're going to be realistic, and the other thing I'm really kind of wondering about as we move to the next step of approving this master plan, what is it that I'm really approving? Because there's no funding source here, so I'm feeling comfortable with, there's not really an obligation. Should we just be thinking about if we go for grants, it's always nice to point to a master plan where we mentioned it in our long-term plan, much like the transportation plan.
Absolutely, that's
So we
really
want to make
essential.
sure it's in here, that we didn't leave something out.
Right.
Any plan, master plan that you have for approval represents what you want the city to become over the life of that plan. And that's what you're approving. It's the vision of that plan. As I mentioned, the next step is the implementation of that plan over how long of a period, what gets done first, what gets done second, what gets pushed off way down the road, how they were funded. If you recall, when we went through the transportation master plan, it included funding that would come from the city, funding that would come through the state, primarily through ODOT, funding that would come through developers. That's the part that would come next on this, is how do you actually implement this vision. So what you're adopting is the vision as it is related in these plans, so that you can then move on to the next step of how to implement the plan.
And if I may, I think this would help us when we get to the next step. I mean, that they've done all the hard beginning work of identifying where the needs are, where the priorities are. And so when we look at the capital budget for this, then, and identifying other funding sources, it'll probably fall into place what gets done and what gets in the wishful category for later if we get funding, right?
And, I did try to call out a couple of things that we could do fairly easily. For instance, like wayfinding, and maybe a program to accept gifts. But also, one of the things that the Park Board's asked is to look at the maps of city-owned property and see if there are places that we already own where we could create some recreational value. And so that's something we're going to start on at this month's meeting, and probably will continue that conversation. Opportunities arise sometimes, and so it might throw off your priority or your strategy as far as what comes first. If you are able to get a grant for a particular type of project, or if someone leaves a bequest of $500,000, that may change what comes first and how fast you can get things done. But otherwise, we have to just kind of plod along and try to figure it out.
Any other questions?
Looking through the cost of all these parks plans and what happened 28 years ago, is there a volunteer contingency for labor costs, or is there an option to involve the public in building or working on these things to then further reduce the costs?
Yes, and those costs do not assume any volunteer or donations. So yes, we could get them done more inexpensively.
And, it involve the people that would be using it as well. That's more of a community thing. Yes, it saves money, but like the pride that those that built that park 28 years ago, they still are proud of that today. So that's something
yes,
that we
they are. Yeah.
could involve that going forward.
Sure, right. And I think that the people that Ian has involved in maintaining and improving the open spaces are, really have a connection that they wouldn't have otherwise. I think it's a really good thing.
Right.
Was that it? Councilor Ward's next.
Oh, okay. I don't mean to be nitpicking, but the D River Way side, that's owned by the state, isn't it? Still?
Yes.
So if there's ADA access, who would have to pay for that?
Well, both at the D River and the Road's End,
Yeah.
the committee and the board emphasized that they would like partnership or participation from the state in providing funding for those things, or working with the city to provide those things.
Okay. And then my second question, this is the nitpicking one. Is it Hostetler's Park? Is it?
Yes.
Okay. So it's a kind of a unique place in that the water that's east of Highway 101, i.e. Devil's Lake, is basically, temperature is basically whatever it is outside. So if it's 80 degrees outside, the water is 80 degrees, which in contrast to the ocean is like 56 degrees and varies 2 degrees year-round. And also, it'll suck you out and kill you. If you look at, in fact, you've got a really wonderful picture of it on the wall back there, of 40 years ago, of the development that took place around the Devil's Lake Park, right around Devil's Lake, right around Hostetler's Park. And also what's really neat about that place, not only does it have a lot of charm, basically they just had to dredge it. It's visible from Highway 101 very easily, and it creates a segue between the lake and the beach. So I just thought I'd bring that up. And my last question is, are you familiar with what other cities are doing as far as their parks go, their master plans?
Well, yeah, and that's the benefit of having consultants, because they've worked in a number of different places, and these consultants had they were pretty proud of their work in Independence. I'm not familiar with the community, but they brought it up several times. But also national trends, and the committee was very interested in hearing, what, because we are a destination for recreation, and what we should be doing that other communities are doing, what we could offer here that we don't now. Yeah.
Familiar with Bend's?
Bend, yes.
Yes, they have an incredible investment in their parks.
Yes, they do. And I was there for, I think it was a park planning conference, but they are actually changing their river alignments so that they can offer whitewater canoeing and rafting and
Surfing already exists there.
surfing
Yeah, they've already put that in.
in the river.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so,
Outside the old
that's a huge project, right. And they also built a covered, actually indoor courts, and I think they're sort of indoor outdoors, so in the wintertime, they can be ice skating rink, and in the summer, they're courts, or, some of the things have maybe not worked out quite the way they intended, but, yeah, they really made a big investment.
That's my questions.
Okay. Yes, Councilor Hinton.
I just had another big, broad look at things, and I'm always liking to tie things together where we can to save money and space sometimes. And so I was looking for opportunities where we could, maybe the pocket parks or the playground-type parks, and coordinate that with multifamily housing so we can get the benefit, and also we can get the benefit to have the park and also have the incentive for the multifamily builder to lower some of their costs. But some
That
of
is an
coordination, but
interesting thing. We do require recreation space, 250 square feet for each unit in multifamily, but it's very hard to ensure that it's going to be quality space and that it's actually going to have recreational value. And so, maybe an alternative to that is the city takes it upon themselves to provide recreation space in close proximity to where we have RM zoning. But, that's a good thing to look at.
Councilor Casper.
Yeah, I did notice something that was interesting in some of the information provided was, I think it was recreation sites where you asked some of the community members about summer camps for kids, and a certain population had no information about it and were concerned because they didn't, and the cost. They didn't know that the cost was there. So hopefully in the plan, we can also include children who live in our area rather than always being a destination, to include them in summer camps and get more information out and do something about the costs to include
Our kids, sending our kids to camps
Yes.
elsewhere?
No, here.
Oh, here, okay.
Because so many kids come here from outside the areas. It seems to be nice we could provide this for our own kids.
Okay,
Anyone else? Nope. Okay, thank you very much.
you're welcome.
All right, I have one person signed up. Mr. Hinton.
I'll put it on something pretty. There we go.
Yeah, I think we probably get the lights back up.
Good evening. My name is Joe Hinton. I'm a Lincoln City resident. A lot of what I was thinking about saying has been mentioned by Deborah already, but I'll go through it anyway for emphasis, perhaps. I was appointed by the Roads End Improvement Association Board to represent the neighborhood group on this plan's project advisory committee, in which capacity I attended 4 meetings over the past 10 months to participate in the drafting of the plan, attempted to accurately represent the needs and wants of the neighborhood, and I appreciated the opportunity to participate in this process. There are still a few items I would like to address. Again, maybe some of them are nitpicking. It's hard to tell now. Things seem different after Ms. Nicholson's presentation than in reading the plan, so I'll go ahead anyway. Regarding the improvements at Roads End State Park, I believe the members of the REIA and other roads enders in general would definitely support upgrading the beach access to ADA standards, adding a nature play playground and picnic tables. However, the proposal to construct a, quote, enclosed group shelter with water and cooking facilities for lease doesn't seem like it would help the neighborhood much, and also so would probably have little or no support. The proposal actually, though it's conspicuous in the drawing on page 36. On page 34 it was downgraded to possibly a shelter, but is still in the plan. I've consistently argued against this, as it would not only obstruct the view shed, but would attract more visitors with the parking situation already stressed. Even now, on a busy day, the parking overflows onto both sides of Logan Road, causing a danger to pedestrians and possibly restricting emergency vehicle access, and that's a concern to residents now, let alone if it had additional attractions in the area. Another thing missing from the plan, it continues to ignore the beach accesses at 66th and 68th Street. The neighborhood has been asking for a railing on the concrete stairs at 66th Street, and I've commented on that to the plan, but it doesn't appear. On the positive side, the plan recommends a walking and biking lane or path down Logan Road from 50th to the park, and that's a very good thing. The neighborhood has been advocating that for a long time. And although the plan seems to emphasize grandiose multi-million-dollar projects, it does quietly suggest adding pocket parks and playgrounds wherever possible without calling out any specific locations. REIA will continue to ask for a small park in the neighborhood in keeping with the desires of our draft neighborhood plan. With a little wider view, I'm concerned about the continued protection for the knoll open space. In the plan, the knoll is conspicuously absent from the comprehensive list of open spaces on page 96. How could this extraordinary asset fall through the cracks like that? In other parts of the plan, the very idea of open space shows signs of potential erosion. Both mountain biking and the tree canopy walk are suggested for open space on page 42. Neither of these would fit under the definition of open spaces as shown on page 93, which is undeveloped land primarily left in its natural environment with recreation uses as a secondary objective. And finally, just another example of a lack of concern for detail. This is one of those nitpicking things, I guess. On page 88, under the description of the Drift Creek Falls Trail, the plan states that the Drift Creek Wilderness is northeast of Lincoln City and accessible through a trailhead off Highway 101. Someone looking for it there would be mighty disappointed, as the real Drift Creek Wilderness is buried deep in the forest miles east of Waldport. I've mentioned this in my comments repeatedly throughout the process, and it still appears in the final draft plan. But even with these complaints, this was a very good public process, and the public had numerous opportunities to become involved, and I was proud to be a part of it. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. Anyone who did not sign up who wish to speak at this time? Seeing none. If the council decides to move forward, we should direct staff to prepare an ordinance to make the new plan part of the comprehensive plan. The process to adopt the ordinance will include required notice to the Department of Land Conservation and Development and public hearings before the Planning Commission and City Council. Is there a motion to direct staff to prepare an ordinance and schedule hearings to make the 2016 Parks and Recreation System Plan an amendment to the Lincoln City Comprehensive Plan.
I'd make that motion.
I'll second it.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none.
Wait.
What? All you got to do is give my attention.
Okay. I just want to say that I would really like to vote for this, but I'd much rather vote for a final plan than a draft plan that we all have recognized tonight that there are some changes that need to be made. So I'd feel much more comfortable being able to vote for the final rather than a draft.
Anyone else?
Mr. Mayor, the questions I would have is similar. How do changes get made, to the plan? I realize typographical and stuff could be corrected.
At what point?
Typographical.
No, you said it.
How do we make changes?
Yeah, are you saying at what point now or down the road? Or?
Correct.
Okay.
And how solid, and that's kind of the questions I was trying to get to when we were talking with staff, is this a vision? Because visions, aren't so binding, and that's how I'm led to believe that that's what this is more of a vision plan with specifics, yet to be hammered out.
The way to add, take away, change things on this is we can do it very similar to the way we have done the budget and other items, that if there are things that you have a consensus to move forward on, we can make those changes. If there's something that an individual counselor wants to make, we can also make those changes, bring them back. You can vote on an individual item and then incorporate those into the final document. So if you're ready to go with what has been produced, you can put together the ordinance to adopt it.
Yeah.
If there are things that you individually or collectively want to change, now's the time to bring those forward or to table this and look it over and come back with other recommendations at another meeting.
Well, and I don't see that we're committing to anything. I mean, no matter what we say tonight, and that's why I don't have a problem with it, it's still got to come back to us in the ordinance time. It's still got to come back to us for approval for budgets. So I'm not all that concerned.
The thing that you'll want to under the motion that I heard, we will draft an ordinance that adopts this plan as it was presented tonight. If there are changes that you want to make, then if there's a consensus, we can go ahead and make those changes. Or if there are individual ones, we can bring back showing what those changes would be. Then you have a final document that you can work from. But if there isn't anything that comes forward, what we will bring back is an ordinance for the adoption of this document.
Council
Hinton, that's fine.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, I have, the notes I took are 2 pages, and that's too much to go through tonight, probably. But I'd still really like to approve a final.
If you want to, now's the time.
Your Honor, Counsel, I think what you're doing is directing this to be run through the process for an amendment to your comprehensive plan and adding it to the plan. So obviously you can make changes to it through that process.
So I guess if you have some things that are of a concern to you and you'd like them to have Ron chew them over, he can bring those back to us. I'm in no hurry to vote on this. I don't see any time sensitive here.
I guess for me, there's one, even though I made the motion, there's one big item that I'm most concerned about, is that the impact of this plan has on system development charges. So for me, prior to approving this plan as it is, I would think we'd want to, back to my point of phasing it, so that system development charges that are newly calculated based on this plan don't adversely affect, our other goals of housing and other development. Because, there's a direct correlation to that long list of wishes and the millions of dollars that go into system development charges. So, and that was the real purpose of my question. When can we change that and before it hits the street as far as a system development charge?
I can, if you would like, I can have you all give me your typos and that kind of thing, and we can make sure that we correct as many as I possibly can before I bring you the ordinance. I mean, and that I think is an understanding that, we'll try to make that as clean as possible. As far as the SDCs, if it's not clear enough in the plan that this is a next step, and then, we can try to add some language, if you would like, that clarifies what the process is after adoption of the plan. Would that be helpful?
Mr. Mayor, what I would suggest on this, again, as we mentioned, so far I've heard a report dealing with the SDC process. And I've have at least Councilor Hinton's comments on several items that she has. As Mrs. Nicholson said, what we can do with this is that for those things that are the typos, the easy things to change, we can make those changes. For the others, we can then put together those list of things that would need to come back for you to identify what to include or exclude from the document, including some language pertaining to the process or pertaining to SDCs, and how those will be worked in.
Would you prefer to just withdraw the motion and wait till this comes back to us?
Well, what's easier?
Well, we're asking for direction to prepare an ordinance, and not to necessarily approve, but, so if you would like to just, I think we all understand, but maybe you want to specify that the ordinance draft would have, would clean up as many typos and errors as possible, and would have this list of things to discuss individually, or...
Yeah, I just don't want to get locked in yet,
Right.
So an amended motion?
Well, what I would suggest on what you're really going to be instructing us to do is to bring back a report that will address, first of all, the typo stuff, but also the items that you will have or will provide to us on comments. So, for example, Mr. Hinton made some comments. If there are things that he has made that you want us to address, we can bring those back. You can see how the document would change based upon these individual recommendations, and then you can deal with each of them as you go through. So if I was going to make a motion, it would be a motion to instruct staff to address the comments that are being received from the City Council, and bring back a revised plan addressing those.
So I'll revise my motion, if that's all right.
Okay, then I'll need a revision of the second. Okay, then we need a second.
I second.
All right, so we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Can I say something?
Yes, please.
I was just wondering about, you mentioned that the old school site first had to be acquired, but the plan had to be approved before it could be acquired. Was that correct? This plan, a plan?
Well, it's also in the 2001 plan and the 2008 capital improvements plan. So, I mean, there's precedent for that.
To purchase the site, but I guess because I'm sitting newly in the chair, does it mean that the school doesn't want to sell the site? And if the site isn't purchased, then the focus you mentioned would be on these other areas?
Well,
With the school?
The school board had indicated that they would like to sell the property to the city, and the city council had indicated that they would like to buy it. But the devil's in the details, and so I think Councilor Anderson has been working on it, and I'm not sure what the status is today, but we're still hoping that we can accomplish that. There's some environmental contamination and who's responsible, those kind of questions, more than, whether it would make a good park.
For sale. Okay.
So,
Any further discussion?
Mayor?
Yes.
For the very first motion, who seconded it?
Mr. Ward.
No, yeah, the first one.
First one was me.
First
Ward
one was
did, and the
Kevin,
second
okay,
was,
second.
yes. Okay, do I need a roll call on this one? Or no?
Could you please restate the motion? What is the motion?
Mr. Chandler?
The motion is to revise the document so it addresses the comments that are provided by the city council and to bring that document
And
back
direct
to you.
the staff to prepare an ordinance and schedule hearings.
Yes. Well, yes, and schedule the meetings. Mhm.
Yeah. Okay, clear as mud. And I'm sorry, I don't know if I need a roll call on this or not. Don't need a roll call or just a voice?
Money, no.
No, we're not spending anything yet. So all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Thank you. All right. Now I guess we need to close the hearing, or? No, this is just public comment time. So, I'm sorry, help me out with this. Do I close the public comment?
I think we had public comment, so we had, I just think after public comment, we probably didn't say close the hearing, close the record. I don't recall a motion to that
Did
effect.
not.
But
Do you want one?
Sure.
I'd move to close the public hearing.
I second it.
Motion is second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. And then also, the public comment is covered in that? Okay.
Well,
Or we need a separate one?
we had public comment. and
Okay, I'm sorry, I just
No one
wanted-
else had signed up, only one
Great,
person.
we're done. All righty then. We are at ordinances, none. Resolutions, none. Special order of business, election of officers. Now we're back where we were. All right, the city charter states at its first meeting of each odd-numbered year, the city council shall elect a president from its membership. In the mayor's absence from a council meeting, the president shall preside over it. Whenever the mayor is unable to perform the functions of his office, the president shall act as mayor. The election of council president is done by nomination, motion, second, and vote. The attached election of council president is provided for your assistance. Do you all have that? Or is it
No,
just
Mayor,
me?
you have that.
Just me, okay. So I now open the floor for nominations for council president. Do you have any
Mr.
nominations?
Mayor,
Yes.
I have one. I'd like to move to nominate Counselor Walke.
Mayor, oh, go ahead.
Is there a way to say that who is interested in being council president, or is it just you volunteer somebody that you don't know if they want to be volunteered
I'll
for?
let you know.
All right.
Well, I'm just saying, so if you have someone to nominate,
I understand.
so you don't have a nomination?
I'll let that go.
Mr. Mayor, I'd nominate Councilor Ward for city for president.
And I would nominate Dick Anderson.
I guess the question is, would you want this in the first place? Sure. Okay. You haven't volunteered for many other things, so I just want to know. Well, I'm serious, I don't want to,
Oh, that's good.
okay. If it's absolutely fine. I just want to make sure we're all square here. All right, so I have a nomination for Councilor Walke, Councilor Ward, Councilor Anderson. Anyone else? All right.
Never mind.
Okay. May I entertain a motion to close the nominations?
I make a motion to close nominations.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, say aye.
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 Okay, nay. Motion's closed. Okay, nominations are closed. All right, we use ballots for more than one person. Entertain a motion, oh, that's after we're done, right?
Of who you want to vote? The one you want.
You have many boxes
And
here.
if you want all three, too.
Okay, I will read the ballots. Counselor Hoagland, Kip Ward. Counselor Anderson, Kip Ward. Counselor Casper, Kip Ward. Counselor Ward, Kip Ward. Mayor Williams, Anderson. Deanna Hinton, Susan Walke, and Counselor Walke, Counselor Walke. So we have 4 votes for Counselor Ward 4.
I would entertain a motion to appoint Counselor Ward as council president.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Sorry? Oh, okay. Motion carries. Welcome aboard. Congratulations. All right, that's done. All right, Planning Commission interview. Mr. Robinson.
Good evening. My name is Bruce Robinson, a resident of Lincoln City.
Well, welcome. If I remember right, we gave each applicant 2 minutes to say what they wanted to say. Do you have anything you want to?
Well, first I wanted to congratulate the incoming council members.
Thank you.
For service to be rendered, and congratulate the outgoing council members for their centuries of service. I did not reapply, and that was primarily due to an accident. My wife was in an automobile accident, and the time just came and went. I served the first 4 years at the request of a person I respect. I served as the chairman at the vote of people that I respect. And generally, I do what I'm asked to do. So I'm here at the request of people that I respect. Probably the best question you ought to ask is why I shouldn't be planning commissioner. I can speak on that for several minutes. If you have other questions, please ask.
Well, feel free. Elaborate.
Excuse me?
Elaborate, if you wish. Why shouldn't you?
Well, you know, I don't grade myself all that well as a planning commissioner. I've never been great at homework, and there's a lot of it. When I watch the people at this table, I'm very impressed with your capabilities and your earnestness and your efforts, and I feel the same way about the members of the Planning Commission. When I stack myself up against that earnestness and effort, I feel like I fall short. As a Planning Commissioner, as a chairman, I was excellent. So there's the balance. I was a balanced chairman. I was a supportive chairman. My role as a chairman was to suspend judgment, listen to testimony, listen to evidence, and keep my mouth shut. Listen to my fellow members, and then, if necessary, offer an opinion. Any other questions?
Well, we're going to get started on those.
I'm sorry?
We're going to get started on those. I just wanted to make sure you felt like you had your say. So
thank you.
I'll start off. Please introduce yourself, what you did, and, well, my question is pointless. Please introduce yourself. Tell us why you want to be on Planning Commission, your vision for the city, and what you hope to accomplish in your tenure.
I said before I was asked to be here, I'm not particularly looking for another job. Again, I highly respect this crowd, and if you ask me to come back, I definitely will. I don't have a grand vision for the city. I have small concerns. They're large to me, and they're large to a lot of people. Our homeless situation, people are walking 20 miles to work to earn $20 a day to pay for their motel room. I'm very much concerned about that population. I'm delighted to hear Deanna's Hinton's talk about affordable housing and Riley's talk about affordable housing. And everybody here is concerned about that. I would like to see Lincoln City better respected in terms of our social fabric. I don't know what I could do in the Planning Commission to bring that about.
Great, thank you. And then we go to Councilor Walkie.
My question for you, Mr. Robinson, is what do you feel are the top 3 planning issues facing Lincoln City?
The top 3 planning issues. You know, once you take VRDs off of the plate, I'm kind of left without an answer. I believe that we're handling the Parks and Recreation. I don't believe we're handling the homeless problem particularly well. I think we're struggling with education and crime and so forth. But again, I don't have a grand vision. I have small visions.
Councilor Casper.
What should be the role of the public when making planning decisions, planning commission decisions?
There's really 3 sources of input for the Planning Commission. The public is very important. The legal aspect is very important. Staff. I believe that we should listen very carefully to the people when they testify. That really is the most important. The law obviously drives everything, and the staff input. But when somebody's sitting up here talking, like the gentleman that testified earlier about needing some help in this city, we really need to listen very carefully and with all the heart we can bring to it.
Councilor Anderson.
Mr. Robinson, you're much too modest on your earlier statements, because the council ought to know that, yeah, you've been, 4 years on Planning Commission and chairman, and as a lot of these people have also been on Planning Commission, it takes a long time as a learning curve. And that's why I, for one, was disappointed when you weren't in the group earlier that interviewed, and we have one remaining slot, a 1-year term left, so you wouldn't be stuck forever, would be the answer. But, you know, my question is, how should the Planning Commission balance an individual property owner's desire to develop the property with the community interests?
We had a case recently, a couple of cases recently of owners who actually built in violation to ordinances. Those were tough cases. I don't bend over backwards to help in that circumstance. The ordinances are there. How do we balance that? I think is the biggest part of the planning commissioner's job. Is we were about to ask somebody to tear down their building because they built it 4 inches too tall in Rhodes End. We didn't do that. Staff came up with some excellent proposals for how to finesse that situation, and I really believe that that's a part of the Planning Commission's job. That's the second part of the Planning Commission's job. Obviously, the first part is to do your homework for you. And I think we've done a pretty good job of that. We're batting about 50%. Did I answer your question, sir?
Yeah, that's good.
Mr. Ward?
Excuse me, sorry.
It's all right.
I caught somebody's cold.
Get well.
Where am I? What should the role of the city in creating a look or image in the business districts? Did I say that right? What should be the role of the city in creating a look or image in the business districts?
There you go to the vision thing. I think when you say the city, I think we're talking about this group and the planning department. I think that's the principal role. I believe that the staff does I think an unusually excellent job going out and trying to find out what other communities are doing and what they're working. I think that's a big part of the process. We saw the benefit of quite a bit of that this evening. And frankly, commerce is what keeps this city going. It's why we're here, and the role of the city is to make that happen, to make the downtown attractive to the surfers and to mom and pa who want to go to a VRD. So I've never been totally clear on what's the role of a planning commissioner to make the city attractive to people. But it's certainly our responsibility to make it livable.
Thank you. Councilor Hinton.
Hi, Bruce. My question is this: how should the city balance affordability with regulations for multifamily housing?
You know, I think we took a really good step with the accessory dwelling unit effort. That's, to me, that's an example of an ordinance that supports multifamily, or I'm going to give a bit of a confusing answer here, but one of my visions, and I've talked with the developers a bit about this too, one of my visions for things like big VRDs or accessory dwelling units is economics change over the years, over the decades. What now is a phenomenal money maker for VRDs in 10 years might not be, but we've got some really nice buildings out there. We have some hotels in Rhodes End that if we needed hotels in Rhodes End, we needed multifamily dwellings in Rhodes End, we already have them. So I think a big part of the city's role, a big part of the Planning Commission's role is to keep an eye out for what works now and what our infrastructure is and in what circumstances that infrastructure can be redirected if necessary. Multifamily dwelling being the specific.
Thank you.
And Councilor Hoagland.
Hello. The question I was given for you is, based on your experience as planning commissioner, what ordinances, policies, and or practices would you change and why?
Well, I'd probably do something about property taxes, but I doubt if that's in my jurisdiction as a planning commissioner. Can't think of anything. What would I change? What would you change?
Many things.
Well, top one.
I didn't like the VRD thing. I did not like the unlimited use in the VRD in the 1.5.
Mm-hmm. No, I'm kind of pretty happy with what we did over the last 4 years. You know, I think the city council did the right thing in turning some of our stuff down. I think they made you guys made a couple of mistakes, but, you know. All in all, no, in answer to your question, I'm not out there chomping at the bit to change ordinances.
All right.
Sir,
Thank you. Appreciate it very much.
thank you.
All right. Okay, so we still have with 3 candidates, and Amanda Cherry Holmes, Mr. Robinson, and Ken Sita. I do have a concern. I guess I'm just going to ask the questions of our new counselors. Did each of you get a chance to listen to the interviews of the other 2 candidates? You did not?
No.
No. So only one of the incoming counselors listened to the interviews. Are we proposing a vote tonight?
You can. Or you can delay it.
Well, I guess I don't know, I can make a recommendation, but it wouldn't seem appropriate to vote if you haven't heard the other people's. So you could either say, well, I'm not going to vote tonight and let the rest of us do it, or take the time to watch those interviews and come back when you feel comfortable. But I'd leave that up to you.
That's correct.
I'm sorry?
That's exactly correct. That they should either watch the videos or not vote.
Yeah, so, but I'm going to leave that up to you folks, too.
I'm happy recusing myself from the vote.
Okay.
So am I.
Okay, great. Well, that was taken care of then. All right, selection of the candidates is done by ballot. That'll be administered again by Kathy. But I guess I want to take a second and ask a couple of questions, if I could, of the council while you're passing these out. I was the only person who voted for Mr. Sita. And when I look on paper, I see the most experienced candidate. We had a question of, boy, we need to get another experienced candidate in here. But we had someone with 25 years on the Planning Commission in West Lynn. And what did I miss?
Well, we can sure talk about that after.
Well, but we're going to be making a vote tonight, and I'd like to know, do I need to continue voting? What am I missing that you all saw or didn't see?
I don't know that
Help
I
me.
want to, I don't know that it's appropriate to have that public. I'd certainly talk to you.
Well, I think it's totally appropriate. I'm going to be casting a vote, and I just want to know what I didn't hear that you did or did not hear. Again, I saw on paper 25 years of Planning Commission experience, and I voted accordingly. That doesn't mean you have to agree with me, but I just want to know, what did I miss?
I don't know what you caught, I don't know what you missed.
That we voted for someone with no experience versus,
I-
and then we delayed the vote to bring in someone with more experience.
Mayor, I voted more on the answers that were given than what was on the resume.
Uh-huh. Okay. Well, that's satisfactory. Okay. Thank you.
The votes are Councilor Walke, Amanda Cherry Holmes, Counselor Hinton, Amanda Cherry Holmes. Counselor Anderson, Bruce Robinson. Counselor Ward, Bruce Robinson. Counselor Williams, Kent Sita. We have a 2-2 and 1 vote.
Let's do it again.
I really, yeah, I think you don't have any option that you could either postpone this and advertise for more people, or you could vote again.
Let's do one more vote.
And again, you're not voting really, you're doing a nomination process here.
Right.
Between the two individuals that had 2 votes?
No, I think it's just voting for everyone again.
Yeah, I think you have 3 people on there.
Really?
That's not a primary.
Really? Since when?
It'll be just a moment.
So you guys want to be careful about any conversations down there that if you're going to have one, you're going to be sharing it with everybody.
I
understand.
I asked if they're gonna vote on all 3, or they're gonna vote for the top 2.
I think it's up to the, council what you want to do.
They have a right to do it.
I think it's up to the council what you want to do. If you want to vote on just 2, then you can vote on just 2 based on the fact you have a tie. If you don't want to do that and want to go back to the beginning again, you can do that.
Could you quote me on this? I mean, help me with an ordinance or a
There is
rule,
no,
or
this isn't,
we're just winging it?
no, this isn't anything that's prescribed.
Well, I don't know, it doesn't seem
specifically.
fair that we just say, no, I say, let's have a vote, and if we can't get past it on this one, then invoke
The
whatever
actual,
you want.
the actual way that you are making the appointment, we're doing the ballots out of convenience. But the actual way that you're making an appointment, and you don't even need the ballots, is somebody makes a motion, and somebody seconds it, and then you vote on it. You don't need a ballot. You need a motion and a second, and then an approval of an individual. We've been doing the ballots because, in my experience, it has been the preferred method and convenient for the city councils to go that direction. But the actual method in which you appoint a planning commissioner is a motion, a second, and a vote on the motion.
Mr. Mayor, I'd make the motion then to appoint Bruce Robinson to the Planning Commission.
I would second that.
Motion and a second, discussion? Hearing none, let's do a roll call, just for sake of...
Who seconded it?
Ward.
Ward? Okay, roll call. Anderson?
Yes.
Williams?
No.
Ward?
Yes.
Walke?
No.
And Hinton?
Yes.
It's 3-2.
Okay. Motion carries. Welcome aboard. Or welcome back. Sorry. Okay, that's done, right? I'll finish with that. All right. Appointments, Art Committee, 4 vacancies, 1 application, Patty Seiberts. I'm sorry, Patty, I don't know how to pronounce it.
Mr. Mayor, the Patty's application was in the packet. I had interviewed her along with, I think, I'm not sure if it was Chester Norikis or Wes Ryan a couple of years ago when she was first appointed, and would recommend her again to fill out a full term. She was on a short term for public art before. She's, very, as you can see from her application, very active in the arts anyway. And she has been on, and this is a renewal of her term.
Okay. So that's an motion for an appointment?
I'd make that a motion.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none. Motion carries. Appointment council interview subcommittees for interviewing applicants for committees, boards, and commissions. We have the Arts Committee to replace Councilor Ryan, Budget Committee to replace Councilor Ryan, Library Board to replace Councilor Noriakis, Sustainability Committee to replace Councilor Noriakis, Transient Room Tax Committee to replace Councilor Ryan. Anyone want to step up and volunteer for a particular board? or
I
committee?
had a question.
Yes.
I didn't understand why there was a counselor appointed to the Budget Committee.
This is the interviews.
These are to interview candidates
to
for the
interview.
appointment to
Thank
those
you.
committees.
Got it.
Yeah,
Okay.
the interview subcommittees.
But, Mr. Mayor, I'm wondering if we could, before we do this, I'm still remain confused to this whole process. We just got done doing a public interviews for Planning Commission, but yet, we do something different for the other committees. And, is there a legal difference between committees and the Planning Commission? Because shouldn't they all be the same?
Yes, there are some differences in that there are some that are spelled out in the process, and whether it's the mayor simply appoints it without the consent of the council, or they appoint them with the consent of the council. In the Planning Commission, that's spelled out a little bit more clearly. As it pertains to an ad hoc committee, which is essentially this, the mayor either requests or takes volunteers, and then he makes the appointment. Now, as it pertains to the interviews that you will hold, you have two choices, and we put these together in a resolution, I think, about a year and a half ago, and that's that if you want to if there's two of you that are interviewing, and you want to make a joint recommendation to the city council for the appointment of somebody to one of these committees, then you have to interview them together and publicly, okay? If you are going to make individual recommendations, and not a joint one as the interview committee of 2 or 3, then you don't have to interview them publicly. So it's really your choice on how you'd like to proceed. If you feel more comfortable publicly, that's fine. We can advertise those, and the public is available to sit in on the interviews. If you don't want to do that, which seemed to be an interest, the last time we went, we discussed this, then you would have to make those recommendations individually and separately.
Thank you.
Okay. Did you have an option you preferred, or?
Well, I assume then we could do it at the time, so check me out. But if we are art committee and get a bunch of applicants for these remaining spots, the two counselors can decide amongst themselves then whether they want to go public or go individual.
Actually, Council, Your Honor, you kind of decided this previously, and I had actually recommended the public option, and you just decided to, at least in giving direction to writing up the policy, you decided to go the individual interview option. So I don't think you could make the choice, because we got to advertise it, if you're going to do it publicly. Now, if you want us to change the policy to say each group of counselors could make that choice, then we're getting into a debate about changing the policy each time.
If it's possible, I think, because one of the reasons I think we went the direction we went was because we weren't having a bunch of people applying. We had one, maybe two, and it just didn't seem feasible to advertise and do interviews. But maybe an option is if we have more than 2, that we then hold a public hearing. That, everyone gets their fair say, but, I leave that to the council to decide. It was expedient. We interviewed in the same room, basically, but asked our separate questions, made our separate decisions, did not discuss the issue whatsoever, for nothing more than expediency's sake, and to save the city some money on advertising costs. So, what say you?
Okay.
Are you good with the idea of if we have a limited amount, maybe one or two, to continue on with the single or dual counsel interview, but if we have more than two, to do a public? Does that make sense, or is that?
Yeah, it did.
And, all right, let me please ask for clarification. When we say public, we mean that the interview by the two counselors is an advertised public meeting where people can attend, not the full council.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And we can just use my office and call it good there, and, yeah. And then you would schedule that? Okay, great.
Okay, so it wouldn't be, if I may, if it wouldn't, then it wouldn't be here in front of the cameras and everything. I just think that that's intimidating to a lot of folks. So.
No, it'd just be back in my office with the committee member,
But that
or
would
the
be-
interviewing subcommittee members.
But that's considered public then.
They would be, public could sit in, and if we had an overflow, we could always move somewhere else, but
I like that
lay
idea.
money that you won't have anyone show up. But that's okay, because they're very short interviews. We have almost every bit of information we need on the application. We pretty much just ask them some rote questions about, are you prepared for the time commitment and the schedule and things like that. So they're really not that in-depth.
Your Honor.
Or interesting.
Counsel, could I ask that, since we're on this subject, I think it would be appropriate for you to direct me to reduce the policy to an ordinance and put it in the code, so we don't have this policy of, having this interview policy just adopted by council, but rather just let's put it in the municipal code as this is the procedure for filling vacancies on all our elected boards and commissions, so kind of memorialize it.
Should a future council not like that idea, how tough would it be for them to say, we're not comfortable doing this way anymore?
Well, it's not a land use ordinance, so the ordinance amendment process is pretty quick.
Okay. I just wouldn't want to
If it's in the code, it's just going to be easier for people to find, and we won't have confusion about what the process is.
Well, then you'd like a motion for us to direct you to codify that if we
Codify
have
the-
more than two applicants, it would become a public.
And actually, the whole process, this whole alternative process. And I don't know whether or not you want to maintain the distinction that you have a planning commission that, you're doing through the full council. Do you want to have them go through that same process, or do you want to retain this full
Well, then we
council?
go back to,
public
then we go to interview subcommittee.
Yeah.
With planning.
Is that a question?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it's a good question.
But isn't that the question I just asked at the beginning? What's the difference between?
And the answer is that right now, there's a code provision that would have you come here and do it publicly. But it's
Right.
not a state law provision.
Okay.
So you can put the planning commission, correct me if I'm wrong, but you can put the planning commission through the same process you'd use for everyone else.
If we change the
If you choose to do that. You can do it the way you did it tonight.
If I may. To be clear, previous council voted on an independent interview outside. Now we're suggesting that it be in here with public comment, changing how the interviews used to be, unless it's the planning commission applicant, and then they'll be in front of here.
No. What's being suggested is that the process that the council adopted for filling all boards and commissions, which is doing it down the hall and by two counselors, the subcommittees, I hate to use the word subcommittee, but doing a small interview down the hall, doing it as a public meeting if there's more than two, but if there's only two, you can do the individual recommendations. And doing that same process for the planning commission as well.
Mr. Mayor, I might add just one thing with that. As I mentioned, there's different spots in the ordinances for how these different committees work. I would suggest that along with what Mr. Apicello says, that you just look at all of the different committees, clean it up, and just have one process for every committee.
Okay. So,
I'm basically asking for permission to write that ordinance.
right.
I'm fine with that, because that'd be good, and try to shorten it down. I guess perhaps we could take a moment and look at other municipalities, how they do it. Because it's amazing to me, over my span of now 8, 10 years, we've done it a multitude of ways at this city. And so, not that we're not doing it right, but maybe there's a lot of more options. And I guess I'd be looking to make it convenient for the consumer, because scheduling, whether it's a public meeting or individual interviews, takes a lot of flexibility. The minute you add 2 counselors and, 5 applicants, and if you broaden that to, this public hearing, meeting, we had to interview, a couple of people weren't able to attend the interview. So I would, and I haven't seen this way before in other cities. Maybe it happens that way. But if we could take a look at what really are our options, because this just feels a little bit screwy.
Okay.
I think that's a legal term.
We're just kind of taking, volunteers for things right now. We're not doing any interviews. Would that be something you could put together on and say, okay, I've looked at a couple different towns, here's how they do it, present that to us?
Sure.
Okay. Not like you don't have enough to do, or Mr. Apicello, or coordinate this together.
Sure. But it would still ask that you proceed forward tonight and select the people that are going to interview for these committees.
Okay, so we, once again, we have the, where am I?
Volunteering for the
Yeah,
license.
I know. Let's see, point, yeah, okay, yeah, no, god dang it. There we go. Arts Committee, Budget Committee, Library Board, Sustainability, Transient Room Tax. Okay, we'll start with Arts. Anyone care to?
I do.
I'm already on that, so that'd be the other one, and somebody else to take that one.
I'm interested.
Are you saying you're giving up or saying?
No, I'll stay.
Yeah.
But
Okay, Deanna, anyone else? You can fight it out. Okay, Budget?
I would like to.
who else is on that now?
One.
Yeah, I am.
Okay.
Okay, that works.
I'm on
Library?
I'm on the library already.
Okay, I need a volunteer for library.
I'll do that.
And Sustainability Committee?
I'll volunteer for that. Who else is on that?
It's just Chester. Oh, who else was on that?
You know, Kathy, who was on that one?
I'd do it if you're
I don't
looking
have
for
that
a
sheet
second
with me.
person. This is for the interviews, right?
Yeah.
You're looking for a
That's all.
second
You don't have to
counsel.
attend any meetings.
Oh, good.
Interviews.
I think there's somebody,
All right, well, we'll put down Counselor Hinton as a wild card.
Okay, I like
All
that.
right, and then Transient Room Tax Committee.
I'll do that.
Okay. Well, I just get to appoint, so I'm just saying you're appointed. There you go. Congratulations. Then we have appointment to the Library Board as City Council Representative.
Mr. Mayor, this is the only committee that has for some reason, has a requirement of a city councilor attending those meetings. I have no idea why. And I know they're exciting, but I'm wondering if that's, if we could look at that.
So, Mr. Apicello, can you answer that?
I'm not sure why that's the only one. I don't know if it's dictated by some other rule or regulation, but I can certainly look into that in looking at the uniform boards and commissions procedure. We can see if there's any particular reason why.
Okay.
So when are those meetings held?
Yeah, I'll do that one. I'll take it and then we can decide what we want to do once we figure out what we're going to do. How's that for convoluted? Okay, appointment to outside committees and boards. We have the Lincoln County Transportation Service. Yes,
I'm sorry, I didn't want to interrupt, but I'm over here. I just wanted to ask a...
feel free, just a quick,
interrupt?
Mr. Mayor,
You?
yeah, honestly.
Okay,
My
Mr. Mayor,
attention.
I have a couple questions. One is, and I didn't know the appropriate place to ask this, so I'm thinking maybe this would be it. There is the new Business Incubator Committee, and is that something that needs, does anybody know anything about that? Somebody shaking his head down there?
I was going to say, I think Mr. Townsend was sitting in on that, but I don't see him in here.
Well, oh,
It's not active.
yeah, it's not, so there are committees galore that
Right.
can pop up, and like most committees, run its life, and that's one that was active when we were actively looking to fill the space, rental space downstairs, to help incubate business. And we found we incubated more retail and not anything of job caliber, so it kind of went away.
So it's kind of defunct?
Right.
It's not
But it
active.
doesn't have to be.
I kind of love the idea.
If that's
but-
something you'd like to pursue,
Well, it all depends on what the parameters
sure, I
are.
want to talk to Ron this week, and then come back and let us know.
Okay, I have one more question like
Please.
that one, and that's the Villages HOA. I'm interested in serving on that if that exists.
What is the
or-
term on that, because I'm on that now.
Do you ever meet?
I haven't had a meeting yet.
Next work session.
I guess the mayor took the place of, was it Henry Quant?
No, I think it was
Gary?
Gary Ellingson.
Scary.
Who took Henry's position?
Yeah, there was, Henry was.
We might have a
I
vacant.
don't know the term.
I think we might have a vacancy.
Okay, so if we can look into that, if you're interested.
If we
Okay,
ever.
so we'll look into that and let you know. Okay, anything else?
No,
Nope.
not
Okay.
now.
All right, so we're still back to it. We're looking for people to fill in some slots here. Lincoln County Transportation Service District Advisory Committee. I don't have any information on that.
I'd be interested in that.
Okay.
I might recommend, Mr. Mayor, that both those A and B, because it's the Budget Committee then of that same group, would be the same person, be worth.
Do we
looking
have
at both
any
those.
information on how often? And
Well, Budget Committee is just
They're hoping to
once,
get over-
once or twice a year, if that,
Okay, so it's
you
not a
know,
huge
so that
commitment.
isn't active just during the budget time.
Okay.
And the other one is monthly, and it has to do, obviously, with the public transit.
Depending on when it meets, I'd be interested.
Yeah.
It meets on the third Thursday of January, April, July, and October. And on the Budget Committee, I don't have a schedule on time. It appears as though it meets on an as-needed basis.
And where?
But Newport,
Newport.
but at 3 p.m.
Newport Chamber of Commerce.
Right, you just turn in your, not voucher, what am I trying to say here? Mileage log. Okay, so that's taken care of unless someone else wants to step up for that. Okay, Lincoln County Solid Waste Disposal Service District Advisory Committee.
I'd like to do that.
I'm sorry, we're down there.
Me.
Okay. That is also a meeting in Newport at City Hall. Oregon Coastal Zone Management Association alternate representative.
I'd like to do that.
Okay. It's a ton of reading, and that's fine if you're up for it, but we get huge packets, but I think you should. It's an amazing board that I think
try
is
it?
not representative enough.
Can I be in pencil and try it?
All right. I think they'd welcome anybody, but I do want.
For a year.
Yeah. It is an intensive, this one is, yeah, because the OCZMA is concerned with the legislative stuff coming down the line, how it'll affect the coast itself. And there's a lot going on with the fisheries and the reserves and the like, so it's an amazing group, so
Sounds interesting.
it really is. But again, a lot of reading. And no offense to Mr. Appicello, but they've got two lawyers on there, and so we get all kinds of stuff to read. Cascade,
joke, a
and the
lawyer
Cascade West Council of Governments Executive Board. Again, another important board, I just don't have time.
Should that be someone who's already on the commission?
I couldn't tell you. That seems logical.
Yeah.
Well, nobody's on the committee. We're members of.
Well, well, number 11 says that Councilor Anderson is the city representative.
No, that's for the
Transportation.
Act, yeah, the
Okay,
Area Commission on
different.
Transportation. This would, to
If I
me,
got it right, we're getting we're getting so much funding through this group,
right.
right? So,
Well, and it's more human service stuff, social stuff. So somebody interested in that would be your, Meals on Wheels, for example, come through that, a lot of senior services. And it's something definitely, to be plugged into, because we are members and pay dues and have expectations of receiving benefits.
yeah, Ron, can you speak to that? We just had a meeting with their representative, and if you could fill in.
Well, I can tell you a little bit about it. Yes, it's made up of all of the communities. The members on its board are elected officials from the various communities, and they, again, govern Mr. Abuzelman's operation. They do meet monthly with no set calendar. You remain on that board until you resign from the board. It's the attendance is in Albany. However, you can do a video conference from Toledo, and what you're doing is you're overseeing and approving the policies and the decisions on these various programs that are run through the COG. And as Councilor Anderson says, many of them are the welfare services that we're familiar with.
Okay, Councilor Walkie. Did you get that? Councilor Walkie would like to. Okay. All right, that about rounds it out, unless anyone wants to jump in.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
The COG has asked us to approve this through
Sure.
consent of the City Council, so we would need a motion to approve this.
So I'm looking for a motion to approve Councilor Walkie as our representative of the Cascade West Council of Governments Executive Board.
So moved.
Second.
Motion to second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Hearing none, motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Ron, for reminding me. Okay, City Manager, City Attorney reports.
Okay, I just have some calendaring items to cover tonight. The first is that we have received 3 dates for our joint session with the Lincoln County Board of Commissioners. They have July 12th, July 19th, and July 26th. If you would select a date, we can then let them know which that is. July 12th, they're all 3 Wednesdays, the second, third, and fourth Wednesdays of July.
I need to go talk to my boss real quick.
While we have a break, could we, did you vote on the Transportation Service District Advisory Committee? Kathy needs to know.
They had,
I didn't write that one down.
Lincoln County Transportation?
I put the two together.
That's
I
right.
volunteered, yeah.
they had Councilor Hoagland for both those.
For both for A and B, yeah. We didn't need to vote.
Sorry, we missed those.
Okay. Well, then I don't have anything to say on the time, so I just wanted to make sure I wasn't interrupting plans like I usually do.
So just to clarify, while you're taking a break, for number 1, the Lincoln County Transportation Service District Advisory Committee, I have Riley Hoagland. For number 2, the Lincoln County Transportation Service District Budget Committee, Riley. For the Solid Waste Disposal, I have Councilor Casper. The Oregon Coastal Zone Management alternate position, Deanna Hinton. Cascade West Council of Governments Executive Board, Councilor Walkie. Is that correct?
Right.
Okay.
Okay. Well, we're back. I don't have a time frame, so 12th, 19th, or 26th, you just want us to pick a date and say yes?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I have absolutely nothing written down that far out, so.
And those meetings are at 6, are they not?
I believe so. Let's see,
There's a
6 p.m. and continue no later than 7 p.m.
Wednesdays, 6 to 7.
Is there any-
First one's fine with me.
Was there one date we're supposed to pick?
Yeah.
Could I entertain the earliest date, the 12th?
12 works
Sounds-
for us. Okay, the 12th it is.
I'll be here.
Yes, it's in the council chambers. The second agenda item is that we're looking over the next 3 months to schedule some work meetings in order to, they're really kind of brainstorming sessions for us to discuss a little bit with you some of the priorities that we have, but really more importantly to establish the priorities that you collectively want us, the staff, to pursue. The first of those is in January. We originally were looking at Monday, January 30th, but I have had a request from 2 counselors to change that to January 18th, which is a Wednesday. You have a sheet on your desk that gives you the proposed topics for those. They're very broad and loose topics. Essentially what we want to cover in that meeting is discussion about police, public works, and homelessness. We're then proposing a work meeting on Monday, February 6th. That's the first Monday of the month, in which we would discuss planning and VCB issues. And then we are proposing Monday, March 6th as your next work meeting, which would discuss the library and the community center. And then finally, you do have your first Budget Committee training meeting, which it will be held on March 20th. As it pertains to urban renewal work meetings, we will just schedule those in connection with your regular city council meetings, so they'll be held on the Mondays, the normal Mondays that we have the meetings, and they'll just go an hour, and we'll just have select topics that we'll go through to discuss urban renewal.
Your Honor, Counsel, just a brief caveat is that if you wish to take action or give direction at this meeting, it's not a work meeting, it's a special meeting. It would be
That's true.
So usually, if it's a work session or a work meeting, you don't take any action or give direction. If it's a special meeting, you can pass a motion, give direction. So you keep that in mind when setting these.
Okay, let me just, I don't see either of those words on these sheets. Are you proposing that?
We
some
are
of them
proposing a work meeting schedule, work meeting / special meeting. Right now, we're just looking at a work meeting. The first one would be January 18th.
As a work meeting.
As a work meeting.
Okay.
The second one would be February 6th. And the third one would be March 6th.
All work meetings.
Well,
We have started those at 6 o'clock. The thing that I would ask, Mayor, is to give us a little bit of liberty in scheduling those as special meeting if we need to take some action.
it was the term "receive direction from City Council" made me think of, do you want a special meeting or not? So that.
I see what you're saying, okay.
Yeah. Right now, as we're putting the agenda together, they are a work meeting, but if there's something that necessitates us actually having you to give us a formal direction, we'd like to have the leeway to schedule them
For
as a
me,
special
I'm always
meeting.
in favor of the earlier the better. You know, I like the 2 and 3 o'clock meetings rather than coming in on the 6 o'clock at night.
In the past, we have scheduled them in the afternoon. I do know that there's at least one council member that will have difficulties in the afternoon, so it's up to you on how, they're your meetings, so however you'd like to schedule those.
Do you want to know now?
That would be great. The first one is a week from
Well, I'm
Wednesday.
good with
so-
the date, but it's the time. Council?
I think we should make it a time when we can all be there.
I agree.
I agree.
Me too.
And what would that be?
I think 6 p.m.
Is 5 work? I think we had this discussion before. Is 5, who are we talking about?
Me.
Okay, is 5 feasible, 5:30?
I can be, I leave work at 5 o'clock.
Okay, so 6 o'clock then. Or is it easier for you to get?
I work at the
5?
school. I can be here at
Would
5:30.
that work for you? Okay, then let's make it easy. You don't have to go home and hang around for an hour. Okay, so 5:30, Wednesday the 18th, work session. Okay, next, Monday, February 6th, Any objections? Same time, okay?
5:30?
5:30 work? 16th. I'm sorry, I got the 6th.
Just the 6th, yeah, February 6th.
February 6th.
You're staying at the 5:30 route all the way through?
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
And if it doesn't work, we could push it back to accommodate, Riley?
Whatever works for you. Okay. I don't want to
Speak
push
up.
you.
Yeah.
If you find that it's going to be too much effort, just let us know.
My kids don't need to eat.
So, as we don't know each other yet, it's
5:30 is fine.
Okay.
I would not have said yes if it wasn't fine.
Okay. I just, when you say the kids don't have to eat, I just don't know how to take that. Okay, Monday, March 6th.
You're supposed to feed them?
Same? That work for everyone, March 6th?
Sure.
Okay. And then Monday, March 20th.
That it will be a budget committee work meeting that we have scheduled, or that we plan to schedule. We'll advertise
Okay,
for
now
that.
you just for onboarding for new people? Or are you asking everyone to show up for that?
No, we'd actually be asking for all 14
Public
members to
meeting,
show,
whole
to be a
bit,
public
okay.
meeting, yes.
All right, Monday, March 20th.
So 5:30 or 6 o'clock?
We have not set a time, so if you want to say 5:30, that's fine as well.
So, which time are we? March?
March 20th.
Lost because, it's on the other side. I have to do it from me.
Okay. And that takes care of that.
That's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Your Honor, Counsel, I just had one item, which we have a public records request, which has been hanging out there for a while, and I sent it a confidential email to counsel last month. And I'm afraid we might be heading toward litigation. So I'd like to request that if you have a request from Kathy for public records, email specifically, this concerns email that's not exempt, that is email that may be on a privately owned computer or server, but it concerns the public's business, that please see me and/or talk to Tony about getting those emails to us to be responsive to the records request.
Is that it?
Yes.
All right. Schedule a joint meeting. We didn't have an executive session. Now it's time for any additional comments from the folks present on agenda, non-agenda items. Jay, could I impose upon you to let us know a little bit about the shelter, and would you be comfortable telling us that? Didn't mean to put you on the spot. I'd like to.
I don't have notes, so.
I didn't. Yeah, that's why I wouldn't know if you're comfortable doing that, but I'd like to hear just a little bit how things went. Cold snap.
We've been very busy. When I say we, what I mean is the Lincoln City Emergency Warming Shelter, which is the two facilities, the Congregational Church and the First Baptist Church. And of those two facilities, the Congregational Church is the one that's been taking the brunt of the hit. I can tell you for the month of December, there were 16 nights that the Congregational Church was in operation. And the average number of single homeless was about 19 people. The church maximum is 20. We can squeeze, when I say we, the church, I mean, the church can squeeze 22, 3, maybe 4, but 20 is the way is really what the facility is best suited for. So we were almost maxed. When I say we, I mean the church. The other one, the First Baptist Church, it was much more lightly affected. And we're looking into why, and there's lots of possibilities here. Fears families have fears about whether they're, depending upon what their documentation is, what they're opening themselves up to. There was a thought that more of the families that are served by Family Promise would in fact be using that facility, but those families have found, these, as you know, are vetted families in the Family Promise program, and they have places to go. I don't think that that's an issue. What now is a more important one is to look at the HELP program down at Taft and the people that operate that, Steenholt, and find out more information about what they know about families that are homeless that may need to have access. The beds that are occupied are not always occupied by the same person. So when I say that it was almost 20 people for 19 days, that's a lot of beds, but it works out to about 57 people. And if you look at those 57 people, 50 of them were at the Congregational Church. So that's why I'm saying the heaviest hit is at the Congregational Church. So you asked me to come up. I would repeat to you very seriously that while you debate and think about the definition of homelessness and what do you think is a good idea and what do you think is a bad idea, and all that time that you spend, it's people like the church, the two churches I mentioned, that are doing the work. And it's big. We've never had this in the history of the church. As you know, the Congregational Church started the warming shelter on its own. So we've had many years of experience, and then it's only been the last few years that it's been a 501(c)(3). And here we're talking about 16 operating days, which means temps below 40 degrees. So it was, we really had to scratch. And I'd like to just give you a little bit of commentary about Amanda. Amanda Cherryholm stepped in. We had some vacancies, critical vacancies, in the management of this operation, and plural, more than one person. And she stepped in, and with her mother Sharon, they just grabbed hold and took on an enormous task of doing all of the volunteer coordination, getting the people on site, getting the food in place, getting the sign-ups, getting the place cleaned up, getting the beds set up, or not beds, or cots. And I just came from a board. I'm a member of the board of the 501(c), and we really, really appreciate what she did. She gave us an incredibly great report about how and where she wants to go in the future. So she's a great public servant, and we're very proud that she stepped in when she did. I'm going to take advantage of my presence here to thank Diana Hinton for when she was commenting upon the park presentation, pointing out that she was looking for also woven into that opportunities for the homeless and for multifamily housing, affordable housing that we've talked about in this community ad nauseum. And I'm glad that she pointed that out, because this would have been, to me, an obvious adjunct to that whole report. And the only thing I heard when the report was given was there was a portion of the report that dealt with housing down around the lake, the river, that needed to be adjusted or worked around because it was in the purview of the plan. But I didn't hear a lot of positive comments about what might be used or how we might be able to work in to the park plan affordable housing. And I thank Diana for raising that issue. I think it was a good thing to do. And I only did that because I got a chance to talk to you.
Thank you, Jay, appreciate it.
Any other questions about the warming shelter?
I have one. Do you folks have food there?
Yes. We're blessed with an awful lot of community support, and if we didn't have that, we'd be in big trouble. And that's not a big issue. And in fact, it's just the opposite. If we have too much, then we've got to figure out a place to give it to.
Right.
And we hate to do that.
It's
So
people you need.
it's people,
Yeah,
yes,
you need
especially people for to spend an overnight. And that's not easy.
Could I ask you a question?
Of course, Diane.
I'm just trying to wrap my mind around the volunteer hours, and I know that's a hard thing to count, but for one, just for a snippet, for one volunteer to be there for a night, how many hours really are we talking about for the volunteer?
Well, we do it in 2 shifts, so you don't have to volunteer all the way from, say, 6 o'clock to 6 o'clock the next morning. There's two shifts involved. It's not so much that aspect about whether you're in a half shift or a full shift. It's just the repetitiveness that the weather has hit us with, so that at several nights in a row, you have a limited number of people. And so what Amanda did was she just asked all of the board members to do what they could. So I stood up in a church service and that said, help, and I got some help that way. And I asked my doctor, and he said, yeah, my wife and I can do it. And so different people have used their own personal context to try to get the volunteers. Amanda's, I don't have her phone number, but Amanda's mother, Sharon, is the coordinator, the volunteer coordinator, and she's the point person for people to go to have that. Georgia, do you have? Okay, she didn't bring her cell phone. Any other questions?
Thank you.
Thanks, appreciate you stepping up like that.
Yeah, thanks for the opportunity.
Yeah, no problem. I have 541-264-0457. Okay. 541-264-0457 for volunteer opportunities. Okay. Anyone else? No. Okay. Additional comments, blah, blah, blah. Announcements or comments by City Council? Anyone, anything?
Of course.
Okay.
I just wanted to pass on this great idea. Representative Gomberg has been working for 3 years with the Marine Mammal Institute at Hatfield to work on some whale license plates. And they need 3,000 people to say if they want them or not. I signed up. I just thought, what a wonderful way to ask people to come and visit if they see a whale tail driving by them. Oh, I haven't been to the beach for a while. Just thought it would be a good idea, and it'd be fun for us, too, to see a lot of whales on the back of people's cars. Not real ones, just a license plate. And I have a...
License plates are made of whale?
Well, not exactly. They're pretty cute. There's a picture of a whale. But anyway, I have the Marine Mammal Institute's website, which is mmi.oregonstate.edu/whale plate. I thought it might be kind of fun even to have a competition, perhaps, with Newport, who would have a head start on this already because they have the institute. And just, I have a few other things, but I've spoken enough tonight.
Don't feel pressured. Anyone else? Councilor Anderson?
If I could, I always like these first meetings of the year. and especially this being a new council, it provides an opportunity to look to our council's past performances. And, you know, I've found that the council, in my opinion, accomplished very little in the last 2 years, 2015 and 2016. I think we can take credit for putting forth a vacation rental dwelling ordinances, but that was a single issue, and it certainly demanded the majority of the council's time and energy, as well as that of supporting staff. Actually, I'm looking at the last 2 years, but for the last 4 years. We now have a new council who I hope are postured to advance the livability of Lincoln City. As a reminder, our city has chosen to be governed by a city council of 7. Decisions are made in public, after discussion, and with at least 4 councilors in agreement. Positive group dynamics are essential. Cooperation, communication, and trust is how initiatives advance. I am disappointed in how we have arrived here today with our mayor actively and very publicly campaigning against these 3 new city councilors while criticizing the seated councilors. We have a set of council rules that clearly shape our expected conduct. I would recommend, if you've not reviewed those rules, that you do so. It is my hope that this new council, all of us, make immediate strides to mend the wounds of the past and recognize that we serve to benefit our fellow citizens and not ourselves. Recognize that we will not always agree, but that we must tackle each issue confronting us with an open mind, respect of others, and a desire to improve the livability of Lincoln City. Our council rules state that once a decision is made by the council, all councilors will support that decision and see it implemented without criticism. If any one of us is not able to conduct ourselves in such a manner, then we should resign from this elected position. So I'm hoping for the best for our, your term and remaining terms of this council. Thank you.
Anyone else? I'll say something. All right.
I think that was very well spoken, Dick, and I agree with you. 2 years is a long time. I hope that we can do a lot better in our next 2 years than we were able to do our first 2 years. And you put it a lot better than I, but I agree with you.
All right. Anybody else? All right. Well, with that, I have 2 things. We have Celebrate Recovery at 6 o'clock tomorrow night at Faith Baptist Church. That's open to anyone who would like to come and get a free hot meal, or just to come and talk about any of their addictions or hang-ups or habits that they might want to address in a very non-confrontational environment. Saturday the 14th, we have the Woodcarvers Show at the casino. You get to judge one and pick the mayor's award. If you haven't been, you're missing out. It is an amazing, amazing show of some real great talent, from kids to 90 participating at all skill levels. So it's something well worth seeing. I'm not going to say much about what was said, except by Councilor Anderson, except to say I agree. It's a two-way street, and I will not apologize for backing anybody. I still have a right as a United States citizen to back candidates. I'm sorry if it offends anyone, but it's an election. It's over. It's done. I'm glad you guys are here. I'm ready to work with everybody. It's done, and I put it behind me, and I want to make sure everyone else does. It's just an election, folks, and it's done. With that, I have nothing else to say except may God bless you all, may God bless Lincoln City, and we are adjourned.
And Happy New Year.
Mics are off.